Welcome to another episode of Slow Talk Live. James Davis here in the studio in San Luis Obispo, California. And I'm excited to be back on the air. I've had a great vacation, just celebrated a birthday, and got my batteries recharged.
Happy birthday.
And thank you so much. In the studio with me today, I've got a co-host, somebody to help me out today.
The wingman.
Don't have to wing it solo. We've got my very good friend and colleague, Martha Torkington.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, and we've got an exciting guest. We're going to be zooming here in a bit. We've got a guest that's actually somewhere in Tennessee, and we're going to learn exactly where in just a few minutes. But we've got a guy, a very fascinating life. It was introduced to him just about a year ago. We participated in a toy drive in San Luis Obispo.
We did.
And without any further ado, we have, via introduction of Martha, Michael McMeel. Michael, are you with us?
I sure am, brother. I sure am.
Hey, Michael. Welcome.
Hey, Martha. Thanks so much. This is great. We got Zoom together, and now we're ready to rock on.
So happy you could join us. Thank you.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah. Michael, a lot of folks now, some folks know who you are, some folks don't. Just to start off, one of my favorite groups in the 70s, I'll never forget some of the hits, man, Three Dog Night. And for a time, you played drums with Three Dog Night, and you've actually continued on that legacy with the 3DC, Three Dog Night Celebration Group. And Michael, for our viewers, just to kind of clue them into who you are, man, we'd like to play a clip with your permission of one of the songs you did.
Of course, of course.
Maybe you can introduce this. This was their first hit, I think.
Yeah, well, this was one of the biggest hits. Chuck Negron originally sang it in Three Dog Night. I was with Three Dog from 74 to 76 and did the last two albums with them, and then things just kind of broke up. But this song is called One. It actually is one of my favorite tunes. In fact, I just got chills when I was just thinking about it. You know how many times I've played this song? Oh my God, never mind. But this is an open chord with the band I put together called 3DC.
Ah, okay. Great. So we're going to go ahead and stream that now on YouTube. And our streaming engineer today, Griffin Brashears, and we're so grateful for his services. And we'll be bringing that up in just a moment. Give me the thumbs up as soon as we're ready to go on that, Griffin. And, this is one 3DC celebrating the music of Three Dog.
One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. Sing along, and two can be as bad as one. It's the loneliest number since the number one. Experience you'll ever know. Yes, it's the saddest experience you'll ever know. Because one is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. One is the loneliest number divided by two. It's just no good anymore since you went away. Now I live my life making right on yesterday. Because one is the loneliest, one is the loneliest number. It's the loneliest number.
All right. That was Michael McMeel, and that was the 3DC, the Three Dog Night Celebration Band on YouTube. Michael, what a great song that is. Brings back so many memories, man.
Oh, I know it. It was really a highlight of my life playing with that band. Do you want me to tell you a little bit about how I got in there?
I'd really like to hear the story, kind of, how you picked up drums and how that magic happened, man.
Well, okay, 7 years old, my dad had a pair of bongos on his piano. And I picked that up and started hitting it with spoons. All right. Next, I got a snare drum for Christmas. And then I commandeered a rack tom, a tom tom. Didn't have a floor, didn't have a kick drum. So I put it on a chair and I used the floor as a kick drum. So it was like, hitting my foot on the floor. Then my dad went to G.I. Joe's. He took me there and I got my first drum set. And then at the age of 14, I started playing clubs illegally. In Colorado, they used to have bars called 3-2 bars, which they served 3-2 beer.
Oh, yeah, the light beer.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. David Anderson and I, we put a letter from the liquor board of Denver, Colorado, a phony document. His dad was a notary. We notarized it, and the lady let me play. I think I told her, I said I'd play outside. I'd open the doors. I'll just do it out there. But that's how I started, really.
You got a waiver, man.
Yeah, I did. An illegal one. It was fun.
So started playing in the bars in Denver, Colorado at 14.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Red Dog Inn was the name of the Red Dog Inn.
Yep.
And then none of us knew how to play it originally. I mean, we just got together just to learn how to play. And the first song we learned was Shortening Bread, Mom's Little Baby. But then we started, learning more and developing our skills. And then we started playing high school dances and stuff like that. And then I had a gig at a club called the Galaxy. We were the house band. And that band broke up. And then I joined another band, and we all decided to go to California with this band. It was an original band called CM Lord. And so we packed up our gear. I was married at the time. Packed up our gear. We broke down 200 miles out of Denver, had to rent a truck. We drove in. The job that we were promised was not available anymore. We all moved into a one-bedroom apartment, 9 of us. We had a lead singer, her 2 kids, a husband, bass player, drums, and guitar player. Then that got old.
You think?
Then I moved into a $35 broom closet off of Santa Monica Boulevard, and lived there for about a year. And I couldn't get work, so I bought a short hair wig because my hair was long, and I tucked all my hair underneath the wig.
Are you tucking the hair right now? You're doing the same thing, aren't you?
Well, yeah, but it's a cowboy hat. See, but I do have hair. Okay. But you should have seen them when I took my wig off when I quit the job.
Yeah,
they freaked out. And so I lived with a young lady named Raspberry. This was, during the kind of like the love movement, right?
Middle name was Sunshine, of course.
Yeah, of course. Raspberry Sunshine McGillicuddy, I think it was.
Oh, name and last names now. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Rockstar expose.
Raspberry.
Anyway, she was good friends with a guy named Al Siner, who used to be with the Young Americans. And he was in Rufus and Shaka Khan.
Ah.
So Rufus broke up. I replaced Andre Fisher because he went and married, oh gosh, I can't remember her name. Natalie Cole.
Now we're in the rock and roll family tree. We're really deep in the rock and roll family tree here.
Yeah, no kidding. And so I started doing session work with that band. And we did Carl Carlton, Everlasting Love album, Frida Payne, Out of Pain Comes Love. I did Flash Cadillac and the Continental Kids. I mean, I did all kinds of stuff. And the producer who was producing all these records said, listen, Three Dog Night is breaking up. You want to join? And so the whole rhythm section left, and then we came in and started playing with Three Dog Night.
Wow.
Nice. That's a great story, Michael. I just love that.
It's crazy. And, I had just stopped doing drugs at that time, but everybody else was full blown. So
Wow.
it was strange to say the least.
Yeah, to be the fly on the wall in the middle of that rock outfit at that time. Wow.
Yeah. But it was amazing. We had our own jet and, limousines everywhere. And being on the road, well, gosh, it's tough. And if you're on the road for 3, 4, 5 months and it's like night after night after night, you don't get to do anything other than you're on the same stage because they tote that around. You're in the same looking kind of limousine. The hotels all look the same.
Yeah.
You do a sound check, you come back and rest, you play the gig, you go back to bed, then you're on the road again.
Yeah.
So
it's a vicious cycle, huh? Revolving door type of thing.
it really is. But
did you guys play, excuse me a second, Michael, did you guys play the Fillmore West or Winterland up in San Francisco?
I never did. I don't know I replaced Floyd Sneed, right? Who was a wonderful drummer.
Yeah.
They might have at that time, but I did not. We toured Japan and all Canada and through all the United States. I didn't go to Europe at all. I'm not even sure if the band did, but I played on the last 2 albums, which was great, and then things just kind of got weird, and believe it or not, I became an actor.
Really?
You did.
I did.
You've been hiding things from me, Michael.
You got this
Well, I
story.
have to. I have to keep the mystique up, Martha. So
Okay, I got it now.
Yeah.
There's
But
more.
We may just lay the mystique white out today.
I'll look out.
Gosh.
But do you still want to hear more?
When you say dabbled in Hollywood, actual acting type of stuff?
Oh gosh, I did a lot of movies. John Travolta lived in the same building as I did when he was doing Welcome Back, Kotter, and I was doing Three Dogs. So I'd go see him, he'd go see me. And do you remember Harvey Lembeck in the Beach Blanket Bingo movies? He was like You Stupids. He was like the first Fonz.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Well, he was the dialogue coach on Welcome Back, Kotter. And I was dating his daughter at the time, Helene Lembeck. And I said, Harvey, I'm thinking about getting involved with acting. And he says, oh yeah, right. He says, well, I have an improv class. Come down, we'll see what you have. So I went down there. Little did I know that Robin Williams, John Ritter, all the heavyweights were just starting out. And I was, thrown up with those guys. And basically with Robin Williams, I just sat down and watched him. But I had good energy.
Yeah.
So I did his beginning class. Then I got a television series with Sid and Marty Krofft. It was a kid show called The Krofft Super Show. And I was with Captain Cool and the Calms.
Oh, wow.
But, we were a major hit. We were in all the teen magazines. We had a couple albums out on Epic. I mean, it was like amazing. And that's when I started really recognizing that kids needed something.
I was going to get to that, Michael, because, the white elephant in the room is Inner City Slickers, and what a great name. And just everybody knows City Slickers, the Billy Crystal movie. But this whole thing about Inner City Slickers, which is the organization that you founded and that I believe you direct with a great team of people. I was looking a little bit in the website. But Inner City Slickers, this came out of your heart being tugged for kids and awareness. Tell us a little bit about that. Really interested to hear how this all happened in your life, man.
Well, in 78, when the Krofft Super Show was at its height, we used to do all these telethons for kids, St. Jude, Boys and Girls Club, all that type of stuff. Yeah. And then fast forward to, I put a production company together, a video production company. And I was doing movies like Xanadu and Hard to Kill with Steven Seagal. And I never really found my niche as an actor. But I was shooting a commercial one day, and it had horses and kids in it. And every time the horses came out, the kids glowed. And I was raised around horses when I grew up. And I must have had City Slickers on my mind. I thought, well, geez, what about Inner City Slickers? So I called Castle Rock and got their blessing, tried to get, Jack Palance and Billy Crystal involved, but their careers had exploded. So, at that time, the inner city seemed where the kids were in trouble. But my God, nowadays, I mean, from Beverly Hills to the hills of Tennessee, every kid is at risk. So in 1992, the riots broke out. I was working with the Temptations at the time and was watching LA burn. And so I'd never been down to the inner city. So I thought, you know, since I was involved with television now, I thought maybe I could do a television series about the inner city. So I came up with this concept called Cool City Blues, which was kind of a St. Elsewhere kind of a thing, if you remember that show. So I started walking the streets of South Central like a knucklehead in a suit. I was the only white guy around, and, you know, gang territory. And so I'd slip into different churches, and because that was kind of a safe point.
I was going to say,
and these people thought, who the heck is this guy? But finally, I started building a rapport with the ministers, and I went to Koreatown because, you know, the Koreans and the blacks were, you know, warring, and decided I wouldn't do the television program, but I'd come up with possible programs that would help the kids. So
this really started, Michael, this really started as a shoe leather, hit the streets, connect with people face to face, heart to heart campaign.
Yeah, totally right. But, you know, at the time, that area was being exploited. Everybody down there was trying to get something out of that disaster that happened. So it took me a while to kind of gain any trust, just like it is with a horse, you know. And what's fascinating is that the first thing that we did was I had a lot of friends that were massage therapists.
Yeah.
So we would go into a gym, and the massage therapist would come down, and adults would come in, and they'd get a free massage, just a simple thing like that. Or we did a thing called Crossing the Line, where I would take talent that I saw in South Central and brought it over to Koreatown, and vice versa, you know, just kind of get the races kind of working together and things. And then, you know, the slicker thing happened, and we did our first one, 1994. We actually rented a camp in Malibu called Camp Shalom. And I trucked in about 50 horses, had 100 and some kids. We raised money with the Dallas, was it the Dallas cheerleaders at that time? I don't know. And there was a franchise club group called Denim and Diamonds. And we raised about $10,000 and rented 3 days and, you know, did the program. And it was so successful, but gosh, it cost so much money to do that. So we did another one the next year. Yeah. And I had met my wife prior to that. And so we decided to buy a ranch out in Santa Clarita.
Oh, yeah.
And started doing it every weekend. So we built an old West town.
And
you know, the good book says, do not despise small beginnings.
Right. But I've had the privilege to work with Michael. You know, we have in person. We've known each other for a really long time because we do similar horse work at the Healing Center in San Diego. And he's just magic out there. He works with those kids and getting them around the horses, and it's quite a treat to just watch him work and organize and challenge the children and the teens or whoever come in to build their self-esteem and get to know them. So it's been a real treat for me.
I was
impressed.
Be a
witness of that.
I was impressed.
In person.
In fact, I appreciate that input, Martha. I know you're very active with horses, a real equestrian enthusiast, horse lover. Would maybe be appropriate to say that. And I saw a video, Michael, you sent me a link. I'd like to show that for our viewers right now, that I think sums up a real heart of this program, the work with the kids and horses. Can we stream that here,
It's
Griffin?
important just to watch the nuances of what's going on, because that's really what's happening. It's how that energy is interchanging. It's not just Michael, but it's the horses and the whole community working and watching those children change in the process. So I encourage you to watch the whole from a big picture perspective.
All right, let's go ahead and stream that here.
Yeah, it's so true, Martha, so true.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just do
Now,
it.
let's make sure they're ready. You guys are ready? Okay. Anytime.
You can do it, Tit.
Right.
Don't sit stiff as a board. Keep those arms in. Oh, God. Yes, it is. Whoa! Seriously, there is a certain space that comes up when you...
You're good. You got it. You got it, Coach. You got it.
Okay, I've been through this. I can. God.
Cross your arms and over think about it. Good job. Oh, yeah. Hello. Go! All right, Sam Coach is moving up. He's looking good. Step on the shoulder, go another shoulder. He's moving forward. Get him up there. Oh, get him up there. Another one, get him up there. All right, good. One more. And, oh, get in there. All right, come on down, Coach. Slide down. Time.
That was a great video. Gosh, you really really get a sense of the interaction, the connections that are being built. You know, Michael, a couple of things you mentioned to me while that video was streaming. Two of the most important things, if I jotted this down correct, the kids need to know they're safe and they need to know who they can trust.
Right.
And your program, of course, endeavors to meet those needs and to continue to meet those needs. Talk a little bit about the different aspects. We see the horse ranch, and you talked about some of the elements. How would even kids find out about what you guys are doing in a city where you're operating? How would that start, Michael?
Well, I contact different people, different groups, whether they're group homes, church, youth groups. I mean, we work with the Boy Scouts. Back in California, I went to every juvenile prison in Southern California with horses and cowboys.
Wow.
And for that day, these kids who were murderers and rapists and carjackers were just kids for 6 hours. And they were riding horses. The parole officers were riding horses. The parole officers would fall off. The kids would laugh. We barbecue. And it was just like, hey, we're just hanging out, So the thing is, though, is that when I meet a group for the first time, they're going to decide who I am as I walk in. They're going to have their, well, really, okay, he's this cowboy and he's this and that and the other thing. And I say, okay, so as we're talking, I get into talking about trust. And I said, you've just met me on the scale of 1 to 10, 10 being most. How much do you trust me? And I've gotten everything from a plus 10 to a minus 10. Mm. And the ones that trust me too much, I says, you don't even know me. Let me earn your trust. Yeah. And the ones that, I'm in the hole with, I keep checking back with them. And I see that I'm gaining ground. Now I'm a -7. Now I'm a -2. Sometimes I only get past a -2. Yeah. But, it's like, it's so important that the young people today, especially kids, gosh, I don't know how to say it other than they're being sexualized. I mean, at an early age, I mean, sex is like happening, and they don't know what a good man is. They don't know who a good man is, and they don't know who they need to be as a young girl, you know. So we really, it's a rigorous investigation of who they are as a human being, to find out where they're at, where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are. We push them. I want them to be afraid because we get through that. You know, we have a mechanical bull that's just a barrel on springs, but it goes 15 feet in the air. And we have a safety belt on it. They can't fall off, but they scream like it's sudden death.
15, it'll shoot up 15 feet in the air. That's
that's
pretty crazy.
That's fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And they can actually ride it upside down because the belt holds them. Now, back in the day, we didn't have that. We had 6 people, 3 on each side, to try to catch them. And what made me realize I better do something is this one kid who was a smartass came off and then played dead. And we all thought that he had died or was seriously injured. And when I went up to him, he woke up and said, "Snap," you know. So I designed it. I had to get something, you know, to really make sure they couldn't come off. But yeah. And then we do the fall of faith. I mean, in that video, some kids were falling. They were 10 feet off the ground, falling back into a group that would say they would catch them. And they did.
You know, Michael, it's interesting. You talk about building trust, and you look in those videos and there's volunteers and people involved, the team, the mentors, so to speak, the folks, the hands-on people that allow you to do the work you're doing. It's not a one-man or one-person operation. And I looked at your board, and you've got a diverse group of people there. And then the folks that go out, probably board members included, go out to the ranch with the kids. It's a mentoring process from day one, right?
Correct. And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, what was my thought on that? It was about mentoring. Well, a lot of times, some of the volunteers I don't even know. They're brought by people I do know. So at the same time, the kids are learning. See, back in California, which was really diverse, it's a melting pot. We had Asians, blacks, Koreans, whatever. I did a Slickers with 4 Korean kids that couldn't speak English. We just did sign language. But, you know, I always wanted to get a group of kids together of different backgrounds, different ethnicities, and see where our gifts are. You know, back then I was working, you know, Martin Luther King knew he was not going to conquer racism in his lifetime, but he knew he had to do it. I know that I know I'm affecting children, but I'm not going to be able to save all of them. I mean, if I can touch one, I just got a call from a kid that now got deported. He was illegal. I don't know how, but I worked with him in 2002 at my ranch in California, and he reached out to me, and now he's back in Tijuana. And so I'm working with him to see if I can get a visa for him to come back into the States because he has a brother and sister here. I got a phone call from a kid that did my first Slickers, who's now the head chef at Amtrak.
Wow.
So out of the darkness comes this ray of light with letters and things that kids actually have benefited from what we do.
You know, Michael, I was going to say, oftentimes there's a few stories you shared. There's probably hundreds that you never get a good understanding, but the few that we get, the glimpses. I was in a supermarket about 5 years ago, and I came here almost 20 years ago to San Luis Obispo, started a foster family agency. We had a youth mentoring program in juvenile hall, eventually moved that into the foster homes to support the parents. And I was out shopping with one of my sons at Ralph's Market, and a couple of girls walked by, and they turned back around and said, "James, Mr. James." And I recognized them, but I didn't remember their names. They remembered mine. They reminded me who they were. And then they got excited, and they reached over, and they called their dad over. And I'd never met the dad. When we got these girls, they were separated from their parents. The parents had to go through some I think domestic violence, substance abuse classes. But bottom line, they were eventually restored. I didn't know it. And I walked in to a restored family unit in a supermarket with big hugs, and a gentleman that gave me a big hug never met me and was thanking me profusely. And it was out of the blue. And that was one of the few times that I saw that direct impact. But my gosh, that stays with you tremendously strong.
Well, it kind of goes both ways in the work that I do, because he and I do the same work.
Yeah.
And what happens is that people get seen. And if you get seen once, it shifts inside you, and it stays, doesn't it, Michael? It just stays with them because they get acknowledged. And then Michael walks in, and we all walk into this environment. There's no agenda. There's no one, any pretenses or anything. Everyone gets to be exactly who they are and what they are at that moment. And they get to stand in their own individuality and get to go through these experiences and find that which is in them. And that's what sticks. That's what stays. And so there's a big gift, because once you get that shift, they don't go back. They get to go and live off that and jump off that. Wouldn't you say that's true, Michael?
Yeah, I do. And gosh, you were saying something that I thought was very important in regards to, what was it? It was about building trust, but it slips my mind. It'll probably come back later.
Yeah.
But it's giving them giving them acknowledging them, and that builds trust, because there's just no agenda. There's absolutely none. And
I know what it was. The greatest gift you can give anybody is just acknowledging who they are.
exactly.
Just
It's
acknowledge.
beautiful.
And I bet you Martha agrees. Actually, my best trainer has been horses.
Right?
They can't talk to you. You've got to be present in every moment, watching everything that they do, from a flick of a tail to an ear turn to shaking a fly off to whatever. And if you're present enough, you can see things that other people don't see.
Very much so.
I watched one of your videos, and it was talking about an awareness, touching the horse, letting a horse know you're right there. About 25, 30 years ago, I was working a horse ranch, and they brought a couple of horses out. Didn't know, it was probably one of my first contacts. I rode them a few times in San Francisco at Golden Gate Park or on the beach, but no real knowledge. And somebody moved suddenly. The horse did a quarter turn and kicked me in the back of my shin. And that day I learned how to be careful around horses, but more importantly, I learned what 1 horsepower is. And it's pretty dang strong, let me tell you.
You know, James, let me tweak what you just said. When people, and they get into the habit, they say, be careful. For me, that makes me tentative. That makes me kind of walking on eggshells. Just be aware of your surroundings. See,
Exactly.
if you're aware of your surroundings, then you know what to do. You know how to be. You know how to act. If you're just aware, being careful. I just don't ever use that term, especially with kids. I just say, just be aware of what's going on. You know, you have to, when you're on a horse or by a horse, your awareness has to be 10 feet around you. A dog could come over and scare the horse. It backs into you. The horse could just want to shift its position, step on your foot. It's just about, that's what's great. If you're not present around a horse, the possibility of you getting hurt is high.
So, Michael, the board of directors, the folks involved with your organization, how did they find out about what's going on? How does that process happen?
Well, you usually pick people that you know. Honestly, to find a board that actually does something is
a working board.
Yeah, very difficult to find. So, I picked people that I knew for quite a while, but it's, sometimes board members are just on there for name only. Sometimes board members are on there, not mine, that just have connections. We're grassroots. We don't take any money from any federal or state or anything like that. It's all volunteer. I've never taken a dime, and I wouldn't, just because, it's just, once money gets involved, people get crazy. So it's just something I do. If I don't have the money from donations, I just put the money in myself.
I got you.
But you know what's good? The thing is, it doesn't take a lot of money to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what I wanted to tell you. The best kept secret for a happy life is being of service. If people would get how nurtured they are by serving these kids, I would have a line around the block knocking on my door saying, I want to volunteer.
Yeah.
Now, Michael, you get that. You understand that. That's part of your structure. Did that happen because people that gave early on in your life that you received from a dad, an uncle, mentors? What's your story? Why do you value that so much? Because I believe in that also, and there's some specific reasons why that's part of my life. People that invested me at some of the hardest times growing up changed my outlook as to what the safety net is in the community. I just want to hear a little bit about your story. What makes you tick? How did you arrive at that point, man?
That's a very good question. I did not have that growing up. You know, and I can actually feel some emotion coming up about that, not having that. I'm not sure what it was. You know, I mean, being a rock and roller, my first marriage fell apart. You know, I had a daughter, which I had no contact with. I don't know. It's I couldn't tell you.
But you saw at some point the story that I'm hearing emerge at some point through the riots, through your contact with kids in the entertainment industry, the benefit of horses. Somehow all these streams came together to create this beautiful ongoing work that is obviously so impactful and a real part of you and a team of other people. And so it just seems to be so integrated as to the person you are, man.
You know, my dad and mom broke up when I was 5. And at that time, I made a decision that, okay, this is going to be good for me. I'm going to be independent. I'm going to have to do it myself. But honestly, as I look back and I feel the emotion coming up, that, you know, having a father in your life or someone that really can say, hey, you're worth something, is something that I thought I had to do. I had to do it.
So. It comes very organically for him. It's not something you learn. It's just, there's something that he just gives naturally and truly. He actually sends that energy out, and it just kind of just hugs the whole area. It's just the way he walks and how he talks and how he addresses his work, and it comes, I mean, from the soul. I mean, truly, Michael.
Yeah.
So I have to give you a lot of grace on that, huh?
Thank you. Yeah, it's you know, having someone that. Especially a boy, I think having a man in your life that sees something in you, that fans that flame, that you can count on. You know, Denzel Washington talks a lot about the problem with you know, African American families is that there's no father in the home, you know? and it's so true. Of course, the mother in the home is so important, but the women always, I think, stand up. It's very hard to get men to volunteer. Most of my volunteers are women. You know, at Sunnyside, we had very few men at all. In Leesburg, Georgia, I had more men than I've ever thought of. We had 2 African-American guys. I think we had an Asian guy, myself, and 2 or 3 other people. And then we had women too. So I don't know, for some reason, the men just don't seem to have that in them to be nurturing. Now, I know there are men that do that, but I just haven't found it quite often in my work.
Yeah, you know, I go back in my life, and the safety net, my dad, my mom, the extended family, Scoutmaster was involved in Scouts, the community. I actually lost a sister in my arms. I was 12 years old and just devastated as a young man. Sister grew up with a heart condition. And I saw my dad just start to heavily drink, and my mom just really lose life. And It was the people that stepped in, that saw value in my life, that safety net. And I believe that's why I do what I do, involved in helping kids and vets in our community, because, that giving back, recognizing a need and giving what you have. It's like the story in the good book. The little boy had a few pieces of bread and some fish, and put into the master's hands, those were multiplied. And I hear your story, Michael, a story not of great talent, but, feeling a lack and yet stepping up to the plate and getting some good hits in the process. So I just want to commend you, man, for your work. Speaking of your work, Michael, I want to go full circle back. About a year ago, Martha was all excited about a toy drive. And I forget the exact name, Toys Across America or something, but we participated that locally and saw a lot of local kids have brighter smiles at Christmas time that would not have had that unless it was for some sponsors and some organizers and people like you and Martha that did that. Would you guys talk a little bit about what that's about and what you do every year in regard to toys?
Well, you've got Pamela kind of running that up, right? So I talked to her yesterday, and we've got toys coming in from PetSmart, right, Michael?
Yeah, 10 years ago, Pam Markovitz walked into a PetSmart and saw these little stuffed animals. And she says, "What are these about?" And she says, "Well, we give them to charities." So at that point, we got like 50 of them. And we had a pizza party at the Gondolier in right outside of town. Yeah. And then last year, we gave 12,000 away. Wow. All over the United States. And so that we're hitting at that this year. These stuffed animals, it's amazing. I mean, I give them to all the schools here, but I do a kind of a thing because I'm an actor anyway, I'm a ham. So, I come in and say, "Excuse me, but is this the such and such class?" And I said, I just got off the phone with Santa Claus. And they go, oh my God. And he said, you guys are really talented. And then I said, I've got Santa on the phone. I can call him right now. So there's a number you could call for fun. Santa.
That's fun.
And then he says, ho, 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 and stuff. And we did all the whole, it's just crazy to see these kids.
We did one year at the foster agency. We actually brought in, I had a neighbor who lost a wife, and she was a collector, and he'd had 2 big garbage bags filled with stuffed animals. This was a real small grassroots thing. And he brought him over and asked me if we could use him. So I got together with our team, and we were just before a big Christmas party. We actually did an adoption ceremony where the kids named named their animals, and there was not a dry eye in the house. Awesome. It was such an exciting thing, just a little animal in that contact, and the people around clapping and supporting that. It was special.
So we'll be doing something like that this year with SLO. I've talked to the Elks Club. They're going to be participating with us this year. And we're going to organize something really fun. We just talked to them last night, so it's just on the early stages of how we're going to deliver.
Excellent.
But the toys are there at PetSmart. I'll go get them pretty soon, and we'll get this going and certainly film it and let everybody know how it's progressing.
And this is happening in several locations, my understanding, through inner city slickers in the United States?
Happening in probably 20 states around the country.
Now.
Excellent.
It's pretty exciting.
What a great outreach.
Thank you, Michael, for being part of that, for letting me be part of that. It's a great
thank Pam for just walking into PetSmart.
Right? We love her. She's the best.
You know what I find? If you contact sponsors, everybody's wanting advertising. There are people that like to give. It's just talking to the right people, because there are those people in our communities. And I'm hoping through this outreach right here that people will go online, get curious, and look to see what inner city slickers. In fact, Michael, take a few minutes to talk about the different areas of social media that you guys are represented on. How would folks find out about you?
Well, of course, we're on Facebook.
All right.
We're on YouTube. innercities.com. I'm not like really a social media guru. I try to get on Instagram, but I'm not sure how to do that. They can always call me direct. My number's all over the place. Anybody who needs help or wants to do something, I'm available.
Go ahead and repeat that number right now for our YouTube listeners, Michael.
Sure. It's 423 489 8614. And that's my personal cell number.
All right. And innercityslickers.com or .org?
.com.
All right. And Facebook, And of course, you're on LinkedIn. I saw you on
Yeah,
LinkedIn. Followed
LinkedIn
that.
too.
Subscribe. Want to ask our folks right now to subscribe to Inner City Slickers on YouTube. Great way to see video updates. And we'd like to ask our listeners here at Slow Talk, go ahead and subscribe to Slow Talk channel, and you'll get updates and alerts on future live streaming.
James, I think you're going to like this. In the spirit of service, right?
Yeah.
I have created a music YouTube channel.
Oh, that's right.
Called Mickey's Place. And I've turned my recording studio into a television studio.
All right.
And I do a 6-camera shoot of local talent here. And we have some great people. And we just started it a couple of months ago. But it really is, I mean, I was amazed that all these people were here. I had a sax player who played with Booker T and the MGs, and Al Green and Little Richard and Chuck Berry when he was 16. So if you can get a chance, check that out.
Mickey's Place, Mickey''S, Mickey's Place.
See, that was my nickname when I was a kid.
I like it. I like it. Keep it going. You're still a kid, Michael.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I will.
We've got some friends in Nashville, a band called The Silent Comedy. Josh, Jer, I want to give a shout out to those guys. They're about 3 hours away. Maybe sometime if The Silent Comedy's around, they'll come up and join you there at Mickey's Place, man.
That would be great.
Those guys are a lot of fun. I actually was in the Air Force with their dad. We brought them to the Morro Bay Harbor Fest, and they got an opportunity to tour with Ryan Bingham, the Heavy, and did a lot of music and movies, TV programs. Great guys, by the way.
Super. What's the name of them again?
They're called The Silent Comedy. We'll give a shout out. The Silent Comedy.
Silent Comedy. Okay,
They're a lot of fun, man.
Super.
Yeah, gosh, this has been rich, Michael. Just the face to face, having Martha, and I just want to thank Martha for doing this introduction. The first time I met her, she found out what I do, and she says, "Oh, you got to meet my friend Michael, and he's doing this and that." And it was like 4 or 5 things sounded like me, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, I got to meet Michael." And so this has been a kind of a slow train coming. We actually participated. Hadn't even had a chance to meet you. So today's been a real culmination, man.
Yeah, it's been great. It's fun talking to you. Good seeing Martha again. And, I think I would just like to leave people thinking about how they can, how can they help a kid today? What can they do? A smile, really seeing the kid for who they are. And maybe you can pick up something that they might need. But, I get my life out of being of service. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
Music, of course, nurtures me and things. But honestly, this is it. This is it. And I'll be doing this until I cannot do it anymore.
All right. All right. Well, Michael, thanks again for being with us, being our guest on Slow Talk Live. I want to go ahead and spend a few minutes to thank a few people here at the very end of our stream. I want to thank Griffin Brashears. Griffin, of course, is our streaming engineer. And the guy is second to none. I'm so grateful. He makes all this magic happen. And guys, when he's doing this, my mind is not just scattered. It's focused and it's fun. And I'm grateful for my co-host today, Martha Torkington, my good friend and colleague, Daniel Arbogast. Daniel's responsible for a lot of the Slow Talk website, some of the recent changes. My dear wife, Eileen, who has the patience to support me in this. I want to thank Ride On Transportation of San Luis Obispo. We're doing the Veterans Express Shuttle Veterans Benefit Concert on November 6th at the Siren right in Morro Bay. Tickets are available right now at My 805 Tix. Louis Ortega is going to be there, his all-star band. I think he's bringing a couple of sax players, not just one.
I was there last year, and it was great. It was great fun. So everyone come out and join us there.
And then his daughter, Talia Ortega. They've got a new album out called Ruby. Talia's going to be there joining the band. And I want to thank my friends at Platinum Peak Productions. They came out to our Vets event, and they've been a real sounding board for Slow Talk, some of the things we're creating here. And I want to thank all the viewers, all you folks that are on the other end of YouTube and are going to see this in the future. Thank you for tuning in and being a part of the magic that is Slow Talk. And then I want to give a big shout out to Slow Talk Podcasting Studio. A lot of people involved to make that happen. Basically, we provide development, recording, production, distribution for some of the best podcasts. And we really appreciate your support. If you need some assistance, some development for a podcast, call us at 805-234-5056 or check us out at slowtalk.com. I think that's it, unless you have anything else for today, Martha.
No, it's just great to be part of this. I appreciate it. I'm super grateful. And Michael's nice seeing you and spending time with you. And James, we're all good.
All right.
We're gonna do it again.
All right.
Soon.
We're going to sign off now. Thanks so much, folks. We really appreciate you.
Okay. Smile at a child today. Say something good.
There you go. And James, thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
James.
That's our big, great James.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael. Really
Sure.
good to meet you and do this today.
Likewise. You
All right.
be safe, brother.
Thank
All right,
you.
Michael. Talk to you soon.
Okay, Martha.
See you soon.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and sign off now. Slow Talk Live. Thanks so much for your support.